Hey everyone, this is Miss Jess from the Monroe Street Art Center, and I have another project for you today for your art kit number 3. I want to give a quick shout out to Eric Carle, the wonderful book that is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. These are really cute, just like lacing practice cardboard pieces. Everyone's is going to look a little bit different. There was like 10 different kinds, so I got the strawberry. This can be really fun for little hands. If you've got a little brother or sister that is struggling with creating some of the projects in this kit, like the weaving or the fish, this is something just fun and easy that they could work on. It comes with a shoelace that you can just practice doing different kinds of lacing, going around, going in and out, trying to get every single hole. Just fun practice, something to do if you're bored sitting on the couch. There's also some really fun beads that were included in your kit. There's alphabet letters, so you guys can go over the alphabet and see if you know every single one of these. You could string these on. There's also bigger see-through shapes that you guys can use as well. Okay, so have fun with this. You could turn it into a bracelet or a necklace even. So yeah, love those. Anyways, now I'm going to move into another weaving project. In your art kit, you guys are going to find one large sheet of watercolor paper. I'm going to show you how to use that sheet of watercolor paper to make a watercolor weaving. This project was actually inspired by Miss Britt, if you guys know her from the Art Center. She is my watercolor gal, and she has made these before, and I thought these would be fun to include in the kit. Alright, so for this project, take a look in your kit. You're going to need your watercolor paper, your set of watercolor paints. You can either use the paintbrush that is included in your kit or another paintbrush if you have a favorite. So obviously paintbrush, water. It might be helpful to have some paper towels sitting around because the first part of this project is going to be to paint it. So what I'm going to do here is actually divide this paper into two. Easy way to do that is to just fold it in half and crease it really good. Fold it in the opposite direction and give it another good crease. And then you can pretty easily rip it in half. This is really soft watercolor paper, so I'm excited to use it today. What I'm actually going to do here, where did I put my tape? Here it is. I'm going to use tape and just tape these down in their spots, just so they don't slip and slide. And also, this tape is going to block off just a small bit on the top of my paper, which will leave kind of this cool framing effect. So it's white on the top, and it's white along the bottom, right? So I'm going to take my tape, rip off a good chunk, and just tape these into place. And there's one. Perfect. And two. I'm using masking tape, but you guys can use whatever tape you have on hand. There we go. All right. Now, it is completely up to you how you want to paint these. For this weaving, I did one of these sheets in cool colors and one of these sheets in warm colors to sort of give it this effect, like a checkerboard effect. So I think that's what I'm actually going to do today. I'll just recreate it. Open up my paints here. Now, with your watercolors, right, the best way to use them is to sort of have a little puddle of water in each one. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this one here, and I'm thinking this will be my cool colors. Okay. The more times you swirl your brush around, the brighter the pigment will be. And just dive right in. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of colors down. While your paints are still wet, if I rinse my brush off and pick another color, they'll kind of blend together and overlap. Okay. I'm going pretty fast, but you guys can take your time, right? Be creative, use whatever colors you want. Maybe I'll do a little bit of purple in here too. All right. So while it's still really wet, and I'm just going to add a little bit of extra water here, Something really cool that you can do on watercolor paper is actually use salt. So I've just got a sea salt grinder here. Any kind of table salt will work. And you have to do this while it's still wet. If you sprinkle on some salt, anywhere that it's wet, the salt granules are going to stick to it and they're going to kind of absorb some of the pigment or the color that's in there, and it'll leave kind of this really pretty sort of speckling effect. I don't know if you guys can tell. Definitely can see it right up here, right? Some over here as well. So it just looks, it's just kind of fun. So I'm gonna use a little bit of salt on mine. All right, so we'll let that one dry. And then this is going to be my warm colors. So all of the colors that remind you of summertime and sunshine. So I'm gonna start with some red, nice and watery. Bright red. Can rinse my brush off and do some orange too. And obviously my favorite color, yellow. Love it. I want to do mostly yellow. All right. Now again, while it's still wet, this is when I'm going to want to sprinkle on my salt. So I've got it totally covered there. I add just a little bit more to that red again since I put that on first. Awesome. All right, and then we'll take our salt, sprinkle it on. Okay, so I'm gonna have to let these totally and completely dry. The salt needs to sit here for a while to sort of soak up some of that color. Once they're totally dry, I'm gonna sort of like wipe off all of the salt, and that's gonna leave sort of that patterning behind. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll show you guys the second part of this project. All right, you guys. So both of my watercolors are dry, and I actually just held them over a trash can to take all the salt off. So just use your fingers and go just nice and light, and you can brush off all that extra salt. And this is how it turned out. They look really cool. Super, super speckly. Now, this is the part that you kind of have to be careful about, and let's see, was going too fast and I ripped mine. So take your time peeling this tape off. I'll show you here in a second once I peel mine off. It leaves that awesome white border, okay? So I'll do that to the rest of mine. Again, much slower than I was before. There we go. There we go. These look cool. All right. Tape is off. It leaves a nice white border. I'm thinking, since I ripped this one on accident, I'm going to make my cuts into this piece of paper. Now, what I mean by that is we need to make, I'll show you the back of this weaving here. We need to make some cuts with our scissors going down the long way from the top almost to the bottom. I'm leaving about a finger's length before I make my cut. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I take my blue paper and I'm going to fold it in half. I'm not worried about creasing it because we're going to be bending this paper a lot pretty soon here when we're weaving it, okay? So I'm folding it in half, and then take a pair of scissors, and I'm just going to cut into it nice straight lines, again leaving sort of a finger's length in between the end of my cut and the edge of the paper, okay? And then I'll scooch my scissors over and make another cut the exact same length. And it's up to you how many cuts you want to make. I'm making mine like maybe a 1/2 inch, okay? I'm gonna do this all the way across. And then I'll sort of open it up and show you guys what it looks like. My cuts are a little wiggly, but that's okay. Okay, so I've cut it all the way across. I made sure to leave enough space on the bottom so that I can have a little bit of a border. When I open it up, okay, I can just kind of fold it back into shape. It's got all these cuts through it now. Cool. Oh, we could make a lantern out of this too. Skinny lantern. All right, so now with this paper, I'm gonna cut strips that are about the same thickness of these, except sideways. And since I ripped this one, this is totally fine. I'm just gonna cut this little part off. And I don't need to use that one. Okay, so if you want to, you can use a pencil and draw your lines out first with a ruler if you want to make them perfectly straight and know exactly how thick each one is. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna eyeball it, but it's never a bad idea to really take your time and draw out exactly the shape and the size that you plan to cut out, okay? All right, so I'm gonna cut these all generally about a 1/2 inch thick. I'm not using the best scissors right now. That's okay. Woo. All right, I can probably get 2 more out of this. 1, 2. I'm just gonna cut off that white border, right? All right. I feel like that one was a little bit thick. Okay. Now is the weaving part. So I've got all my strips cut up. They're all about the same width. Okay. Pick one out and I'm gonna weave it through. If you have watched the other videos, I talked about the process of weaving is basically alternating going in and out, or behind like this, and above, behind and above, behind and above. Okay, cool. And then the next one, the next strip that I pick up and weave through, I want some with some red on it this time, will be the opposite. So since this one started by going over this first line here, the second one is going to start by going behind that, right? And then through the next one, like that, okay? Over, under, over, under. If it helps, you can use your other hand to sort of pick up whatever layer you need to go underneath, right? Take your time, again. Don't rush it, okay? Have fun with this. Okay, and you can put them in whatever order you think. I'm gonna work on weaving mine together and then I'll show you guys the very last step. All right, you guys, so I've got my whole weaving put together. I think it looks awesome, right? So fun. All right, so the very last thing you guys can do if you want to is take some extra string from your art kit to use as something to hang it up with. So for example, this one, I decided to attach an orange piece of string, and I even wanted to add just a few of these really fun beads from my kit as well. If you have a hole punch, you can use a hole punch to do this. I'm just gonna make 2 little cuts in the side of mine since I don't have a hole punch. If I just fold the top over, make a little snip. Okay, same on the other side. Just enough so that I can kind of get a piece of string through the top here. Then I'm gonna take my yarn, I'll put one through this side. Carefully, right? I don't wanna rip the paper. I'm just gonna tie a double knot in this. So 1, careful, and 2. Okay, this is a little bit long, so I'm gonna actually cut some off. And then this side will go through that other hole. All right, and again, I'll tie a double knot here so it doesn't come undone. 1 and 2. Cool. So then something else you can do if you're feeling extra fancy today. There's these fun stickers that are inside of your art kit. You can use these to decorate if you want to. So I'll just peel them off. You can stick them on. Maybe I'll do stars on top with a moon in the middle. Okay, super fabulous. All right, Well, I hope you guys have fun doing this. You could probably do this even with any kind of paper at home if you want to make a second one. Any kind of like really thick paper will do, or cardstock will work. Okay, so if you make one, I would love to see it. You guys can share it on social media. Have fun.